It's like your energy is just like radiating.
Because the goal is longevity, right? You want to live a long, healthy life. And so I made the Olympic team. And so I remember I had to get out and go.
Basically, when your body says stop, you just say nope.
Yeah. You can't stop. Everybody else is doing. So let me join them.
Let me join in.
The motto for Barcelona, where I went to the Olympics, was no pain, no Spain. Okay, listen, let's make a deal. Let's not tell anybody. Let's just keep this between you and me. Because I was afraid.
I got free tickets.
Yes. I know every mom is hoping their daughter grows up with chocolate. You really do have to make sacrifices if you really want to get to that level. You can't sort of do like everything everybody else does and still make it. So that was probably... I learned that, if you really set your heart and your mind to something, you can achieve it. The one thing I don't want to have is health problems. So I can't just stop working out and eat whatever. I had this level that I could flip on that most people couldn't get to. I didn't want anyone to know. I wanted to keep it to myself. Hi, I'm Pam Dukes, and I'm here on the podcast. I'm excited. As for my background, I graduated from Stanford, and I'm also an Olympic athlete, and I currently work in technology. I coach technology teams.
Today's episode is sponsored by East Texas A&M. Shout out to you guys for giving us the space. So, filming from the Lion's Den. All right, Pam.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's nice to meet you. I don't know if I've ever met an Olympian in real life.
We're just like everybody else.
But you seem like you have more energy though. It's like your energy is just like radiating. Is that Olympian DNA?
I don't know where that comes from. I think a lot of it, as I've gotten older, I just feel like I surround myself with a lot more things that give me energy and make me feel good. So then it comes out in the way people perceive me, perhaps. So, yeah.
Yeah. People can feel it. Right.
Yeah, I've been told I have good energy, so that's good. So it's a compliment.
Yeah. So where are you originally from? Are you from Texas?
No, I was born in the Bronx.
Okay.
And when I was 3, my parents moved to New Jersey. They wanted to build a home there. They didn't want their kids to grow up in New York. I have an older brother who's 2 years older. So I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay, New Jersey. And so where did you move from there?
Well, I went to school at Stanford. So what happened was I got into sports relatively young, and eventually I found track and field and the shot put, which I know every mom is hoping their daughter grows up with shot put. Not really. But so anyway, I found out that I was actually pretty good at it, and I ended up doing well and getting recruited heavily by schools, and Stanford was one of them. And I didn't know anything about Stanford growing up on the East Coast. And I remember when I got my acceptance letter, my mom said, "You're going." And I said, "Okay." So that's how I ended up in California. That was it.
Okay. So yeah, from New Jersey to California.
Yeah.
What did you study in college?
I studied sociology. I got my BA and my MA in organizational behavior.
Okay, nice. And did you always knew that you wanted to go to the Olympics? Like, was track and field, shot put, was that your thing, or was there like basketball or anything else?
I didn't really think about it till I started throwing the shot put, but I remember my first year I won states on my very last throw in the shot. And then my second year I had the second furthest throw in the country. And it was at that point, someone said you could be an Olympian. And I thought, really? So I think they planted the seed and I thought about it. And so I just started to work towards that. So yeah.
Okay. So it kind of just happened like a natural evolution for you is what it sounds like. You did something, you saw I was really good at it, and then it just stuck. It just carried you through.
Yes. But it's very hard to just say, okay, I'm going to be an Olympian and you become one. There are many people that try. And I remember I was listening to a podcast on Freakonomics. I think the title was Why You're Not an Elite Athlete. And Shawn Johnson, one of the Olympic gymnasts, talked about it. And she said, it's really hard because you got to pick the right coach. You got to be in the right area. You can't get sick. There's so many things that happen on that day you have to perform and get it right, because you don't get a do-over at the Olympic trials. It's like right now or thanks for coming. So there's luck involved. There's a lot of hard work. You have to sort of tone out all the other stuff. I couldn't hang out with friends after practice or school. I had to study and train and rest,
Hmm.
so you really do have to make sacrifices if you really want to get to that level. You can't sort of do like everything everybody else does and still make it. So that was probably the biggest lesson I had to learn.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds hard. Everyone else is like, "Ooh, okay, we just finished finals. We're about to go out and party, get some drinks." You're like, "No, I gotta."
I got to study. I remember because freshman year academically, I had trouble, and I thought I could, do what everyone else did. So after practice, I could go to parties and hang out. And then I
Hmm.
realized that I had to cut that out. So while everybody else did homework during the day, I
Hmm.
was at practice. So then when I came home after I ate, and showered and we had the evening, other folks could do what they wanted to, but I had to go to the library because I hadn't studied yet.
Oh, I
So
see.
that's where the sacrifice came in.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that from a few people now who have been very successful. They say, if you want something, what are you willing to give for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sacrifice. Most of my friends were track athletes because they understood.
Mhm.
When you're trying to build friends in college and you're not spending a lot of time with them, what do you think happens to the friendship? It falls to the ground, right? So yeah, there definitely are some social challenges here or there, but I always hope that hitting that goal would make everything okay.
Mhm.
So
Did it
if I
make
had to choose again, I wouldn't change a
you
thing.
would change
So
it? I
yeah,
guess it did make everything okay.
for the most part,
Yeah.
it's a little lonely though because your schedule's different than everyone else's, and you're gone on the weekend. So you're whatever's going on around campus and stuff, you're just not in it. You're
Mhm.
you're somewhere else. So, but I think one of the things that helped me because my family was back east. I didn't have any family out on the West Coast. So the track team, you sort of become a family.
Mhm.
Everyone needs like a social group that they can be with, to connect with and have support with and feel like you have that sense of belonging. So
Mhm.
that's what I got from being on the track team.
Mhm. I
So that
see.
helped me a lot.
Right.
Mhm.
Was it like that in college, or was it like that also like early when you were like in high school?
Oh yeah.
Same thing.
I still remember when I first went to gym class in school. I love school. I couldn't wait to go to school.
And that's
And being outside playing, I just noticed that I had some gifts. I was kind of faster than everybody else. And, doing the presidential fitness test, I did really well. And I just started softball and then basketball and cheerleading and gymnastics. And I just recognized that I could actually do this. It wasn't as hard for me as maybe for some others. So
mhm.
I gravitated towards sports. I loved the gym class. I was happiest when I was doing some sort of athletic activity.
Okay.
So still, even though I don't really do that much anymore.
Still not.
Yeah.
I think that's a pattern too. Like some people, they don't have the skill, so they just work really hard. And then there's some
Mhm.
people who just kind of fall into it where it's just like you just gravitate. It just works for
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, it was funny because I would pick up, basketball because I was tall and gymnastics and cheerleading. But I remember being in gym, and at some point, I was either the captain or the first picked.
Mhm.
So, naturally, I'm learning about team dynamics and everything. And, I had learned a lot about leadership having to coach the team or lead the team. And I didn't even realize I was getting those skills. I was just in, gym or teams. I was just having fun.
Mhm.
But as I got older, I realized I had a lot of skills that other people didn't necessarily have cultivated
Mhm.
because I've been on a team since the third grade. So
Okay.
it's just constantly reinforcing, what do you need to do? What's your strategy? Okay, this team's not working. I need to take this person out and put this person in. You're constantly figuring out ways to make the group better
Wow.
and to not get them mad at you either. So
That's the hard part,
that is
honestly.
the hard part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did someone coach you on that? I mean, it sounds like it just came naturally. Did was it like a thing?
I think I probably learned it from good coaches I had around me. I've always followed sports, so I would watch, the NBA and I would watch baseball. I would watch all other kinds of athletics and observe the coaches. And then you hear stories, you read biographies and stuff.
Mhm.
So it felt like there was enough material around me to know what was good and what was bad. But nobody's perfect. I made mistakes just like everybody else. So mhm,
Mhm. Okay. So you went to Stanford, and
mhm.
then did you go directly to the Olympics afterwards, or was there like
No,
what was in between?
I am when I graduated, I stayed there, and I think one of my first jobs was at Oracle. It was like grad school
Where?
at Oracle
Okay, nice.
Corporation.
Okay.
And I remember seeing a lot of my classmates there, and I just thought, this is like college again. We're all working at the same place. But I wasn't one of the folks who had the luxury of not working full time and training because college is over. So who's paying my expenses? Me. So I worked full time and I trained. I was able to still train at Stanford. And
Mhm.
at some point, I would rent rooms in different homes or apartments, but I wasn't making tons of money, even though I was working full time because I was still right out of college.
Right.
And then at some point, I was working, I think, an 8 to 5. And at Oracle, I went and talked to my boss and I said, I need a different job because I'm still training. And at 5 o'clock, it's dark and you can't throw the shot and discus in the dark. And I told him, is
You
there
can't.
anything with a swing shift,
Yeah.
like from I don't know, like a 8 to whatever, or even a 12 to something, so then I could at least train in the morning.
Hmm.
And he was also responsible for the data center. So I went to the data center, which was freezing, by the way,
Yep.
and I did backups. So I started getting into tech there. I really didn't study tech in college, but then I learned to do tech support and I learned what the DBAs were doing. And then after that, I went and taught relational database classes. So
Hmm.
I somehow fell into tech and stayed there.
Hmm.
And that allowed me to keep training.
Oh, I see.
Mhm.
And so, were you working? I guess just take me through the journey from Oracle training to competing.
Sure. I graduated in 87 with my master's. I went to the Olympic trials in 88. I didn't make the team. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to train for 92. So I worked different jobs. I can't remember all of the places I worked, but I still was in tech. And then at one point, they had something called the Olympic Job Opportunities Program.
Mm,
And what they did was companies would sponsor athletes. So you would work maybe 4 to 5 hours a day and they would pay you for 8 hours so you could still have enough money to support yourself.
mhm.
So I actually worked at Home Depot
Okay.
and that was fun because they had me in hardware and in the garden center. And so you have all these things I had to learn about all the different tools and how they worked. And the funny thing was, I'm in the hardware section, and a lot of the folks would walk right by me. They wouldn't ask for help because they didn't think I knew anything. And I just thought, well, that's great. But yeah, I learned the different hammers, and I would be able to walk folks and show them. And if there was something they needed that was heavier than I could lift, we would get someone else because I didn't want to get hurt. Not that I couldn't lift it. Let's just be clear. It's just that
I'm sure.
I didn't want to get hurt. So
This arm is
yeah,
preserved.
yeah, I had to watch myself.
Got to pay extra for that.
But then I went to the 92 trials and my parents were there. It was in New Orleans. It
Mhm,
was hot. So hot. And up to the last throw, I was in third. So I was on the team. And then there was someone who had made, I believe, a previous team. On her last throw, she passed me. So I went to fourth. The top three people in each track and field event make the team.
mm,
And I just remember thinking, okay, hold it together. It's all right. It's going to be okay. So I went to drug testing. You immediately go to drug testing when you're done competing. And the person who won the discus also won the shot.
mhm,
And I knew her and I saw her come in and I was going to congratulate her, but I was just, I didn't want to cry because this was obviously devastating to me. And so I just kind of kept my head down. I'm filling out the paperwork. And she came over and she said, I want to talk to you. And I was like, congratulations, you did great. Again, I'm trying not to like look at her a lot or talk to her because I just thought I was going to start bawling. And she said, well, me and my coach had decided before the trials that I'm only going to compete in the discus.
mm,
And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? And she said, I'm not throwing shot, which means I would move up. And I thought, really? And I just started crying and I told her, this is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me.
mm,
And so I made the Olympic team. And so I remember I had to get out and go tell my parents because they're all trying to figure out how to console me. She did it, she did her best, way to go. And I remember I found them in the stands and I said, guess what? I made the team. And everyone around them started screaming and we're all cheering and everybody's hugging me and
mm.
everything. So I told them the story. And that's how I made the 92 team.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a pretty special story. And so I decided to continue to train for one more and I worked and trained. And in 96, I went and I'd stopped throwing the shot. I was only throwing the discus.
Mhm,
And I still don't know what happened in the trials. I think I tried too hard, but I didn't even make the finals. So I wasn't in the top three. And so I decided, well, I don't want my career to end on that. That's a
mhm,
bad memory. So I threw one more year and I think I was within the top 7 or 8. And I got to travel for the US team some. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to hang up my shoes.
okay.
And that's my story.
Okay. So it sounds like the journey to even making a team, what is that, a 3, 4 year journey?
Well, yeah, it's every 4 years they have the Olympics. So now they've alternated. So they'll have in 2 years they'll have the winter, and
Mhm,
then in 2 years they'll have the summer. But yeah, if I don't know that there's many things in your life where if you miss out, you have to wait 4 years to do it again. I think World Cup soccer
Yeah.
happens not every year, so it's something like that, but it's psychologically torture because you spend your mind going over what did I do wrong.
Hmm.
And then while you're preparing for the next one, you have to be so careful because an injury could take you out.
Hmm.
If you're hurt, you can't train, and that could set you back. So, yeah, it's definitely a weird space you have to get to. You just have a different mentality than people. I remember I used to go out with friends, and we would go somewhere, a steakhouse, and they would order all this food, and I would eat the salad bar. I
Hmm.
just ate a lot of salads. And I remember one time I went, and one of my girlfriends, she looked at me and she said, "Are you going to eat a salad?" And there was such disdain in her voice. And I thought,
Hater.
what? Wait, what? Why does it matter that I'm going to eat the salad? I'm trying to eat healthy. But, I realized at some point that when you're doing that all the time, you sort of force people to look at what they're doing.
Hmm.
See, because I already had the commitment, I already knew what I was eating. But for them, sometimes it might make them feel badly because Pam had all this structure and discipline,
Hmm.
whereas we're, having whatever because we're not training for the Olympics. We're just
Right.
eating whatever. And I remember I thought, why does what I eat matter to anybody? So it kind of puts you in a different place. So
Hmm.
I thought it was weird because what you eat has no effect on me.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite understand it. But I had things like that happen where I realized I have to be careful.
It's just separating. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like a
just
mirror.
different.
It's like people get intimidated. They see you
Hmm.
putting in all this effort, all this work, and
Yeah.
it's a powerful thing. And people get scared. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. And it's, no, I don't want to hold them, any negative feelings toward them. But I just realized unless you've been in this kind of position, there's no way you could actually comprehend it.
Hmm.
There was one time I was training after I'd made the team. I was jogging around Stanford's campus and I was by the training room and there was a hole and I didn't see it and I stepped in it and I rolled my ankle badly. The doctor said, "You know what? You'd have been better off if you broke your ankle." And I just thought, "Well, thanks a lot, doc." Um,
That's helpful.
but I
Yeah.
remember I was just devastated. I had a friend of mine who was training, who was a coach there, Robert Weir, and he actually gave me a piggyback. He took me into the training room and he picked me up from where I was living and drove me to get treatment every day. Well,
Hmm.
because my ankle was so big I couldn't drive. And I'll never forget that. People make those kind of sacrifices for you when they realize what you were doing. But you're the slightest thing. You're trying to get a little extra fitness, and then something like that happens. So you have to be super careful what you're doing, where you're doing it, and then just making sure that you're not trying to overdo it too.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Mm. Was there anything that you learned along the way that kind of kept you going?
Um, well, I always knew I had the ability. I was surrounded by people who believed in me and knew I could get there. And when you have that kind of environment, plus I wasn't the only Olympic athlete at Stanford. They had tons of athletes in baseball and cheerleading
Yeah.
and gymnastics,
Hmm.
all the different things. So, um, I learned that, if you really set your heart and your mind to something, you can achieve it. I also learned that, I had this level that I could flip on that most people couldn't get to, where it's just tunnel vision. Like I don't see anything on either side. I'm just going.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm probably less likely to quit or back down from something,
Hmm.
than maybe the average person. Um, but I also learned that, okay, now that I have this discipline and tunnel vision, how can I take that now and use that, once I retire from my sport?
Hmm.
Because you don't need to work like that every day. You'd probably go crazy after a while. So you have to sort of learn how to now make that transition into the workforce and what you're going to do. And, at one point when I was working, I didn't want people to know I was an Olympic athlete, so I didn't tell them.
Hmm.
And one of the reasons was because at the time, with the tech boom and stuff, there was a lot of layoffs. And I
Hmm.
was worried because people have misperceptions. I was worried that they'd find out, oh, Pam's training for the Olympics. She doesn't really need this job. And they would put my name on the list. That's what I thought.
Okay.
And so I know I was pretty ripped in my clothes. So I was wearing baggy clothes and
Right.
stuff,
These aren't muscles.
just looking like
Big
everybody
bones.
else.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't want anyone to know. And then I remember, once more of the search engines got out with the internet and stuff, the worst thing I could hear when I was at work is for someone to say, I searched you on the internet. Just like,
Yeah.
okay, listen, let's make a deal. Let's not tell anybody. Let's just keep this between you and me. Because I was
I
afraid
got free
because people
tickets to
would
the
have
next game.
this perception. And, some people try to target you. They feel like if you've got some special skill or something, they want to, try to get you out the way. So maybe you don't get an opportunity they can get. So I
Mhm.
remember I didn't want anyone to know. I wanted to keep it to myself.
Mhm. I see.
Yeah.
That's intense though. I'm trying to imagine like training
Mhm.
to that level of intensity because it's hard to work and go to the gym. Like, let alone
Oh, I
work
know,
and
I
then
know.
train for the Olympics.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But fortunately, I was surrounded by other people who were doing similar things, so it felt normal to me.
Mhm.
But I mean, even after I retired, I remember just getting up early to go to the gym. I thought, "Gosh, this is horrible. I don't want to do this."
What was the schedule like? Like, was it in the morning for you, afternoon, both?
It depended. Once I was out of school and just working full time, I would train in the morning. So I would get up, go work out, throw, maybe hit the weights and so forth, and then I would go home and change, and then I would head to work.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
then after work, I would go home and rest and then get up. So I would get up early.
What time?
Um, I can remember being on a treadmill at 5 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you woke up at like 4.
yeah. I can remember that. I remember that was normal, and now I look at that and roll my eyes like that was crazy. Most people are sleeping now, Pam. So
Mhm. What
yeah,
was the training like though, like for the team? Was that because like I have this Aura ring and like I
yeah,
track
so
my
do I.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely.
I have to add you on the circles. But I look at my resting heart rate and my HRV. Mine is pretty. I work out too. Like my resting heart rate is like 42. My HRV is like 90.
That's
But I
good.
started asking ChatGPT. I was like, okay, so what is the HRV and resting heart rate of an
Uh-huh.
Olympic athlete?
Mhm.
And it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous, like double.
Uh-huh.
So I imagine it, and ChatGPT said, "I said, how do I become like this?" And it said, "You need to do like a lot of intense, strenuous training."
Like HIIT training and stuff, right?
Mhm,
High intensity. Yeah. I think because you have to train at such a high level because even now my blood pressure is low. I think I went to one doctor and they took it and it was like, like 79 over something. And she kept looking at me like, I think it's broken. I was like, no, I have pretty low blood pressure. And,
mhm.
she couldn't believe it. And even today, I still have a low resting heart rate and blood pressure. And I mean, to me, that's great because now as I've gotten older, the one thing I don't want to have is health problems.
Mhm.
So I can't just stop working out and eat whatever because then, I've seen things in my family, we all come from the old school of, you had to clean your plate. And, my parents and my family, we have great cooks in my family that, woof, they could make some food. And, you know, they would be insulted if you didn't eat the food.
Yeah.
So, I look at the plates I used to eat and now I just shake my head like, I can't eat that stuff.
Mhm.
Because unless you're moving to get rid of some of that, you'll just start wearing it.
True.
And yeah, that's not my goal, but it's yeah, there's levels. I've seen, the track folks running repeat 200s on the track, like the eighth one, it looks like they're moving. And I'm just
Uh-huh.
thinking, how are they doing that?
What does that feel?
A
I
lot.
can't imagine like what it feels like to train.
There's a level of pain
Mhm.
that your brain just says, do it anyway. Just keep going.
Mm,
And you do, which is kind of scary.
okay.
Wouldn't necessarily encourage that. Everybody don't do that.
But that's what happens. So basically, when your body says stop, you just say nope.
Yeah. It's like you're pulled along because everybody else is going. You can't stop. Everybody else is going. So let me join them.
Let me join in.
I think the motto for Barcelona, where I went to the Olympics, was "No pain, no Spain." That was the motto.
Mm,
Yes. And so, of course, when I felt pain, I thought, oh, walk it off. You'll be fine.
mm.
Not good. Not good.
I mean, it got your resting heart rate down, so I
It's got
guess.
my resting heart rate down. Yeah. I also have, like right now, my knees. I don't have a lot of cartilage in either knee. And
Okay.
I did have back surgery. I had major back surgery. Major back surgery.
Okay.
But I'm grateful because I don't have any pain. At one point,
Right.
the lumbar starts to move and you start to feel things on the nerve, and you could be walking and all of a sudden you just have this debilitating pain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I remember being in the Austin airport going on a business trip and I was walking and I felt the pain and I just dropped to my knees. People, are you okay? They came rushing over. I said,
Mhm,
yeah, it'll go away. Just give me a minute. And, that was my life.
mm,
So I decided at that point. Now, this is because of all the athletic things I've done and just started to build up.
mhm,
But since I had surgery, I'm better. But I mean, it's pretty scary when you see some of the things the athletes have to go through
mm.
as a result
As a result of all the
of
intense
maybe all
training.
the things they did.
Right.
Yeah,
So I guess there's a little bit of balance where you have to like
exactly.
train, but make sure you're not overdoing it.
Because the goal is longevity, right?
Mhm.
You want to live a long, healthy life.
Yeah.
And I know if you follow any of the sports, you see what football and basketball players. I mean, some of them they can't even walk anymore. They
Hmm.
have to get both knees replaced. They have to, get their hips done, and their different shoulder joints, and it's a lot.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess you just have to make choices that work for you sometimes.
True.
Mhm.
So when you got off of the extreme discipline ship,
Extreme training. Yeah.
what was next? You got into tech.
I stayed in tech. I did a little coaching. I moved in Austin. I worked for AMD, and I knew the coach at UT, so I went there and I helped some of the throwers. I did some volunteer coaching. And then I would sometimes people would find out what I did, and they knew someone in high school who would throw. And of course, one of the sad things that happens in high school is most times the throws coach
Hmm.
didn't throw before or doesn't necessarily have the requisite knowledge. And so maybe sometimes they can only take the athlete so far. And
Mm,
so someone will reach out to me and say, "We've got this athlete, she could be really good, but the coach doesn't know." And so I would go try to help them when the coaches were there. And very quickly I learned that that was not good because I found the coaches are very possessive. This is my athlete.
right.
I will teach them how to throw this. It's like, okay, I'm just trying to help. I don't want any kind of, credit or anything. I'm just trying to help.
Hmm.
And so I met one girl, we would go to a different school and she would throw the shot discus. And I told her, listen, if I go to your meet, you don't know me, you've never met me, you walk right by me. Don't look at me, we don't know each other. And I explained to her that we have to do that because if for some reason your coach finds out you're working with me and he doesn't like it, then I can't work with you anymore. So I would rather give you what I know and allow you to excel versus us trying to have this relationship outside where, we're talking and I'm telling you tips and stuff.
Hmm.
So I had to learn that the hard way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not.
Unfortunate though.
It is
Yeah.
because if you're a coach, I mean, if you have an Olympic athlete coming to say here,
The ego's an interesting thing.
like, right, the
Yeah.
ego is not your amigo. It can hold you back, and other people, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I mean, with the internet, you don't need me. You can just go watch videos.
Yeah.
You can buy videos. You can film yourself like you're filming us right now. You can film your practice and then you can break it down later. So you have a lot more at your disposal
Hmm.
when it comes to
Right.
training.
And people maybe care less now because they know you have access to all this
Maybe.
crazy stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like I've competed in track from almost, well, now it's less than half my life, but a long time. And so it doesn't go away. If I see someone throw, I can immediately tell you what they're doing wrong.
Hmm.
It's just there. Say, okay, you're bringing your shoulders with your hips. You actually have to separate that. You have to do one, two. It's very simple,
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
I like to help, but I think when I moved a few years ago, I wrote the school that was around the high school and mentioned I was living there and I would love to help out. I never heard from the coach.
Mm.
Never. And I've gone by, different schools where my son went and I'd see people doing things and I just watch because I don't want anyone mad. So, yeah.
Man, that's what's wild. How did you
Mhm.
get into tech? So you start coaching, and then how did you get back into tech? I guess.
Um, well, it's weird. I went from doing backups to teaching software classes, and I learned to do DBA work. AMD moved me to do reporting. I learned how to use something called Crystal Report. So I would
Mm,
front end some of the big mainframe machines and pull out the data. And while I was doing that, they told my boss they needed someone good for a different role, and he chose me. And that was a project manager. And I
mhm,
didn't even know what that was. I was like, what's this? What am I doing? So
mhm,
I went and learned how to be a project manager. And I thought this is perfect because you're tracking the work, you're making lists of things that get done, you're crossing off the list, you're trying to organize the team, you're trying to help support them. And I thought, this is what I do.
mhm,
So I fell into project management and I kind of stayed there. And then as I went on and did that, I've learned different frameworks and ways to coach the teams. And then eventually I got promoted and they wanted me to run the group of people who did that. And
mhm.
so that's kind of what I do now. I help set up what we're going to do, and then I coach the team to make sure we're supporting the tech teams hands
Mhm.
on
Is there any correlation between your sports team
all the
and
time. I
the
tell
the tech
people,
team?
people who say sports teams are different than business teams, I just shake my head. It's like that's not the way I see it
Mhm.
because there's so much. If you have any group of people that's a team, you have to learn how to be a good teammate. And you could tell the people who
Yeah.
used to take their shoes and throw them when they didn't do well and
Yep.
storm off. It's kind of I just shake my head like, okay. So there's the team dynamics. You have someone who's been there longer, so we call them the SME, the
Mhm.
subject matter expert. And you have to teach them to share their knowledge, because a lot of times they hoard their information, because that's job security, right? And so, I would work with them, and I use a lot of sports analogies. And I know I read Michael Jordan, his coach's book, and I watched the Last Dance, and I said,
That was
"Have you
good.
ever heard of Michael Jordan?" And of course, the person will say yes. It's like, well, do you know how his coach got him to be a team player? He told him that, we're not going to win with you scoring 50 points every day. You can't do that. Your body won't last. So
Mm,
your new success criteria is how well you can coach and help your team. That's how I'm judging you. Now, he'll still go out and score 20, 30 points,
mhm,
but he's got to make every single other player better, because he has that capability.
mhm.
And so that's what I do with this me. I say, your success criteria is to help everyone else. So I need you to not do any coding. Give me your laptop if I have to take it. And I need you to teach this person, or I need
Mhm,
them to shadow you. But that's how we're going to get your knowledge across. And one of the things I teach them is that more often than not, there are opportunities within org to move up.
mhm,
And so if I were that person, someone would bring up my name and say, well, we need someone to become a such and such. And they'd say, Pam. And the person would say, well, yeah, you can't, Pam, she's got too much, we can't do anything without her. She's got to stay there. And you miss out on opportunities
because
because you're the speed. And so by learning how to do that, you can actually move on and further your career.
mm,
But if you hoard the information, that's not going to work
you're
out for you.
still, I mean, yeah, it's job security,
Yeah.
but it's also not job
And then what eventually happens? They eventually get rid of the SME because the team can't do anything. And then they're forced to learn on their own.
something else.
So either way, it's
Yeah,
eventually going to happen. So I try to get them to understand that, you got to teach others. Like, do you have
yeah,
children? Okay. So, like, would you want someone treating your kids like that? Exactly.
exactly.
So eventually you're able to kind of get them to come around. So I can pull anything out of a sports example.
Mhm,
I listen a lot to Steve Kerr, and Steph Curry, when he was interviewed, they asked him, you guys have won so many championships, how do you get motivated for this year? And he talks about how Steve Kerr tells him, we're just going to win the week. So we're just focused on this week. What can we do to get better this week? And we're going to set some goals, and then we're going to check and see how we did. And then we're going to do another week. And so you've got very small time boxes and goals that you're working on versus we want to win another NBA championship. You just make it consumable. And so there's just so many analogies to me that come straight into business. It's the
right.
same thing. We want to deliver this on this time. So let's figure out what we need to do. Do we need help from other teams? What did we need to get supported to get it done? And we work as a team. So when you learn to be a good teammate, then you contribute to the team. And a good teammate doesn't fight with folks, doesn't want it done his way or her way, raises their hand, says, I don't have anything else to do. Can I go help someone? You learn how to be a good teammate,
Mm,
just like in sports. So I can
mm.
spot the bad teammates very fast.
What are the key habits, or what's the red flag? I
They're
guess.
just, well, they're very opinionated, and they'll talk over people, and they'll say, that's not how you do it. And it's just, they're very command and control-y.
Okay.
And, I just smile. And I say, like, all right, let's take 10 and we'll come back and meet. And then I try to talk to them and say, yeah, here's how come that's not working. Did you see everybody else shut down? Did you see how everybody else isn't talking? They're doing that because of how you're treating them. They're not children. These are grown adults. So
Mm,
let's come up with a different way that you can help support the team. And if you speak to them in a way where you're kind and you're not, yelling at them or anything, a lot of times they don't realize, they don't have that self-awareness to know how their behavior is affecting people. So you just get them to understand and you slowly work with them.
mm, I see.
But it's weird because, most of the people I work with are men. And
Mhm.
a lot of times they think they're smarter than me, which I love. But hey, you can think whatever you want. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me. I just have to get the team to work. And if I can get the team to be successful, we all win.
Mhm,
It's real simple. So
mhm.
that's part of that sociology,
Yeah.
figuring
Okay.
out
It's
the
all
groups.
tying in.
Mhm.
What are the flags of the best, I guess, teammates that you
Oh,
see
they're
there?
great. Some of the best folks, no matter what job you're in, and I get to work with some of those now, there's a level of anticipation. So they're not just working for the week and doing their job. They're looking at what's coming up. They're noticing things. They're asking, they're raising their hand. Oh, do you need help? Can I help you with that assignment? They're trying to give more of themselves to the team. And you can see it. You could see the star folks just shining. And, eventually when a position comes open and someone gets promoted, it's usually that person.
I see.
One thing I learned, I used to, and I still ask my boss how they're doing. and I ask if there's anything I can do to help. Because you never stop to think how hard it is to be a manager of 8 to 10 people and the stresses of the goals and the deliverables and the costs and everything. So sometimes just like, is there anything I can do to help? I learned that. Now, when I was younger, I used to think, well, you're the boss. You should figure it out. Because I didn't have that empathy. I didn't understand.
This is the guy. He's the end all be all.
Exactly. But now I've learned that
he's human.
who does your boss talk to when they're having problems? They're not going to talk to their boss usually. So who do they talk to?
Mhm.
And if you can, sort of build that bridge and find a way to assist them, that's good. And then they see you have extra skills. Maybe it'll help you in your opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really serving all the way around. That's what I'm getting. Is like even if you're the boss or you're the employee,
Yeah.
you still need to serve.
Yeah. It's like a
Sounds like both
servant
ways.
leader.
Yeah.
And you have to realize one of the things I've done a lot of speaking engagements, and I tell people when I was younger, it was about me. As I got older, I've learned it's about the team. It is always about the team. Whether you work in HR or recruiting or you're a salesperson, you're part of a team.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the individual contributor folks because they're still part of a team.
Right.
It's just a little different. But the question becomes, what can I do to help make the team successful? It's very simple. What can I do? It's a team.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, like, maybe we don't all meet at the same time or whatever, but you're still considered a team. And so when you recognize that, then you start looking and anticipating and seeing if there's a void. Maybe someone has to go out on leave because something's happened in their family. You raise your hand. What can I do to help? I can take on some more work.
Mm.
I would want them to do it if it were me, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to have each other's back and support them.
All right, I see that. It's kind of counterintuitive because you said like job security. I need to hoard it in, but it's like you think you're getting job security, but really you're pigeonholing yourself. So it's like you gotta, if you're so good at this one job and no one else can do it, then you must stay there and you cannot go up. So that's a good point.
I mean, everyone's got goals and aspirations and wants to, move on and make more money and take care of their family and stuff. So, I've learned it on the job that this is what works. You watch the people who get promoted. You can just watch what they're doing. So and so staying late. So and so is also doing this other project. They get to present to the leadership team or something. You just start seeing these different opportunities go to certain people. And the question is, well, why are they getting those? It's because they're raising their hand and they're doing more.
Mm-hmm.
They're really focused on delivery.
Mm.
So
what are you doing these days? I mean,
nothing.
What's going on now?
Well, I wrote a book. I'm still working with teens. I have a son who's 16 and he's in marching band. He's fabulous. He's very smart. And I'm very proud. And he just learned to drive. So I used to have to plan my work schedule. Oh, I got to drop him off at band. I got to pick him up. Oh, he's doing this. And now that he's driving, I've got all this extra time. It's crazy. I remember the first day he drove to school before the school year ended this year. And I remember I heard the garage door open and then close. And I had like a tear in my eye because it's like, he doesn't need me like that anymore. And you're proud, but you don't realize that even though you complained about, I'm in the car, I'm taking my son to whatever, you realize that you just felt like that was important. And when it's taken away, just kind of like, oh, I need to find out something else to do. So one of the things I had always wanted to do was be an author. Used to read a lot of books. And I know I have a lot of information that I think can help people. So the first book I decided to write talks about what it was like when I retired from track, because I was a jock. I was an athlete all of my life. And to step out of that role was really difficult because you're wondering, like, what's my purpose? Why do I get up in the morning? Because you're just saying to go to my job, that wasn't enough for me. I always had something other big thing. And it's difficult. You read about a lot of particularly elite athletes, Olympic athletes. Some take their life because they can't, deal with the stress and the loss, the mental health. Want to make sure that they're doing well. And I just realized I'm going to write about my transition from being an athlete to, being like everybody else, I guess is what I would call it. And so I have a cousin who's actually a freshman at Boston College now. She's a soccer superstar. And I thought about her a lot when I wrote it because there's a lot of things that I put in there that she doesn't know. And she's actually reading the book and she'll send it to me highlighted and say, this was great. Thank you for sharing. And I realize when you're young and you haven't had those life experiences, you just don't know. Maybe it's somebody who has to make a pivot in their career, and you've been, an attorney, or you've been a manager or something for so long, and now you're not that anymore. You feel weird because that was part of your identity. So you have to figure out how to sort of rebuild and feel comfortable and be okay with that. And so that was
Mm,
one of the reasons why I decided to write my book. And
to
so I
write
started last year, and there it is. And I'm very
Oh, you
proud.
started like okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what is it? A biography of tell us what is it about?
Um, it's sort of like a little bit of a memoir with like the lessons learned, things
Mhm.
I've learned, and actionable steps you can take to possibly apply some of those lessons in your life.
Okay.
So that's my first book. I've got another one coming, and then I think I'm going to do one more.
Are they gonna be like a series or different topics?
Well, they're going to cover different things. So the next one's going to be from like birth until making the Olympic team.
Okay.
So that's going to be the next book. And then I haven't figured out what the third one's going to be like. I hope I get inspired somehow to do something.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe it'll be about parenting or something like
That's good. I need that. I have a
that.
almost 2-year-old. So I'm at that old phase.
Oh
To
gosh, that's
people
such
who
a
keep
beautiful
telling me
time.
what you say though, like everyone is like, it's gonna go by so fast, and then you're gonna be like, they're gonna be driving themselves to school, and you won't know
You have to
what to do with
enjoy
yourself.
every minute because they're going to get into elementary school, then middle school, and then the junior high or high school. And once they hit high school, you're sort of in a time warp thinking, oh
It's
my God,
over. Yeah.
they're in high school. They got 4 more years and they're out,
Mhm.
And so, one of the things I've worked with my son is I told him you have to really study hard because your education is one of the most important things we're focused on because they will never take it from you. And I had to teach him that if you didn't do well on a paper, then you have to see how you could make that up. We
Mhm.
just can't take the low grade. And you have to constantly. And I used to tell him all these things. And then I noticed the moment where he took ownership of it. And so
Mhm.
I can see his grades online. And I would say, how did the math test do? It's like, fine. I'm going to take it again. And I knew that because he got like a 67, like that's the score where you need to take it again.
Mhm.
But he's doing so well. He's doing better in school than I did in school.
Okay.
And that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of. Not that I necessarily made that happen,
Mhm.
but in any way, if I had influence on him caring that much about his schoolwork, it's good.
Right.
Yeah. So see, you'll get there. No fear.
No fear. I'm scared.
No,
I'm like, man,
no
I was actually scared before the baby was born more than I am now because it just seemed
being
like
a
something
father.
you never
Yeah.
did it before. But
Hmm.
after a while, it's almost like we were made to like make other people. It just feels like
Yeah.
it's like a natural thing. Is like that's what
Yeah.
you put here for.
And what you'll do is you'll take the lessons from what you learned as a kid and what your
Hmm.
parents did, and then you just apply them. If they were good lessons, you'll say, I'm just going to do what my mom and dad did, or I'm going to
Right.
follow suit. That's all.
Yeah.
Or if it was bad, say, I'm
You
going
do
this
the
way.
opposite.
I'm going over here because that didn't work.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's the greatest gift.
Mm.
I think my mom passed 11 years ago or so,
Oh.
and I remember she was here long enough to meet him, of course, to help take
Mhm.
care of him, to watch him, and I think he was 3 or 4 when she passed. And I remember I was really sad because I missed having her voice in my head telling me and helping me. But then I realized that it's still there. I'm now just applying her lessons in raising him. And
Mhm.
sometimes I still talk to her and I say, Mom, you would be so proud of him. He is smarter than me. I'm kind of mad about that, but I'm excited at the same time. And, I just know that it's all that they put into me that I can now give to someone else. So it's a huge blessing.
Mm.
And you'll do the same thing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Or I'm gonna just
absolutely.
call you.
Hey, I'm
I
available. I
need to
got
do
some
some
time.
coaching, some parental
Absolutely.
that same team dynamic. I
I
need
can
some
do
I need some help over here.
I actually, at some point when I retire, I plan to coach part time, whether it's going to be on parenting, athletics,
Mhm.
or just career. I've got a couple people now. I was just in a class who are reaching out to me, and they want my advice on the landscape of where I work and what kind of jobs and how they can build up their resumes, whatever. And I'm just giving them the knowledge I have. It's really easy for me.
Mm.
So I think I would like to do that at some point full time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to kind of bring everything back full circle,
Hmm.
if you had to take your guiding principles to life, it can be top 3 principles. It might even be one.
Only three.
It can be 20. If you got 100, let's do it.
Look,
But
look at the time.
what are they?
Think I was thinking about this because I think about core values, like what's important to me. And probably the number one is family. Family is important because it's that foundation that I felt supported me, where I felt like whatever I did, I had somewhere to go and be supported. Discipline and hard work are pretty big. I watched my mom and dad. My mom worked part-time while she was raising us. My dad worked in New York, so he commuted an hour every day each way.
Mm,
I thought normal dinner time was 7 because that's when we ate dinner. When people were eating at 5, I thought, "What is going on?
yeah,
5? That's too early." But it's just because we followed my
that's
dad's
what it was.
schedule. So I think family, I think hard work and discipline. I think having your core support, whether that's family, friends, I call them my board of directors. You have to have people who you can go to and they will tell you the truth. So I
Mm,
actually had my previous boss wrote my forward and read my book and gave me feedback. You need people who will tell you the truth.
mm,
Everything you do is not great. You need someone who's going to say,
true.
"Yeah, we need to do this again." Um, and then I think one of the things that I've always taken serious is my health because I've watched relatives, from grandparents and older, and all the health difficulties they've had. So not just because I was an athlete, what I eat, how much sleep I get, how much water I drink. I think taking care of your health is so important because I realize at this point we have two things: we have time and we have our health. So the question is,
Yeah.
what are you going to do with those? That's it. Those are probably my most important things.
Mm, yeah,
Mhm.
that's key.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's perfect.
I'll come up with some more next week. I'll let you
For
know.
the next episode, I'll ask for the other 90. But
Oh,
this is
okay.
this is great.
Awesome.
So where can people find you? How can you help? If you don't want people to find you, you can say that too. But
Uh,
where can they find the book? Just
the book's on
everything.
Amazon. It's called Shifting the Spotlight: My Post Olympic Leadership Journey. And as you can see, I'm on the cover. So hopefully I resemble that person. That's me. Um, I am big on LinkedIn. My bio is Pamela, Pamela Dukes, and then it has OLY for Olympian. So it's got the acronym. And you'll see the pictures, you'll know it's me. But I try to post a lot of information there. I use Facebook, but it's mostly family, me posting pictures of my son and how's he's doing. I am on, apparently now I'm on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram because I have someone, the person who helped design my cover, um, is putting out information about my coaching tips and stuff. But
Everything.
your best shot at finding me is LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn for sure. Mhm.
All right. This has been
That's
great.
how you found me, right?
That is.
There you go.
That is how I find. Actually, someone asked me to bring you on.
Really?
Yep.
Who is it?
I,
I need their
I'll
name.
give you the backstory on next episode. But thanks for
Absolutely. My
taking the
pleasure.
time, taking
Mhm.
the long drive in this Texas traffic.
Oh, don't even ask.
I know. But yes, if you've enjoyed this episode, then please give us a like, comment, check out Spotlight. And
Thank you.
until then, I will see you next time.
Bye. Thanks.